Hey guys, honest upfront, this isn't going to be a standard marketing tactics episode. So there's no frameworks, no step by step systems, no AI tools to try, which from the analytics, I know you guys love. So if that's what you came for today, I promise to be back with that soon. Just today's going to be a little bit different. But for the business owners who've built something real, who care deeply about getting it right, doing right by their clients, and who tends to have a little bit of anxiety thinking about all the things that can go wrong and trying to get ahead of them, this episode's for you. So let's just get into it. Ever since I started my marketing business and creating content, whether it's on social media or here on the podcast, I always wanted it to go beyond just marketing tips because I wanted to talk about the actual experience of building and running a business. So the behind the scenes and the pieces that don't make it onto your beautiful Instagram feed. But also, that is really scary because I have this deep, basically compulsive need to be the person who has it together, who has the answers and the solutions, the person you can turn to when things feel messy. And the idea of cracking that open publicly, it feels like I'm undermining all the trust that I've cultivated throughout the years. But what's even more annoying is that nagging feeling to talk about the things that aren't always going the way that I want them to go hasn't gone away. And what's interesting is I've kind of been teasing it with some episodes, and they tend to be the top performers on the podcast. So, all that to say, it seems like for as scary as it is, I'm not alone in wanting to connect over these deeper, more human, a little bit more messy topics. So, I want to start today with what's been shifting for me mentally and internally and how it's starting to change the way that things are unfolding in my business and also like in my life as per usual, but we'll focus on the business. But there are a few specific mindset things and particularly practices, because I really do have to practice them, that I have been putting into place in my business. And while life is a choose your own adventure type of deal, so like take this or leave this, I encourage you to do what feels right for you. I did want to share these just in case it sparks something within you. So the first one, and this came up on the feelings episode, which to date is my top performing episode, is feeling my feelings without getting caught up in the story that I've created about them. So if you listen to that emotions in business episode that I just was talking about, this will sound familiar to you. But the larger takeaway that sounds really simple, but hasn't been for me, is that when we think an uncomfortable thought or we feel an uncomfortable feeling, most of us, or at least I can talk for myself, turn that into proof as to why something bad is either happening or will happen. Like we kind of treat it like an omen. And catching that and choosing opposite sounds simple, but it has not been, at least for me. So quite practically, what I used to do and what I've heard other people do is you have that thought or that feeling, and then unconsciously we attach this whole narrative and scenario to it. So that anxious feeling becomes this marketing tactic isn't working, or the uncertainty turns into I chose the wrong thing, or the quiet week where sales feel a little less constant shifts into, well, maybe I'm not meant for this. And so instead, what I've been practicing is really being intentional in letting that feeling exist and acknowledging the story, but then choosing differently, which means that I can still feel the worried feelings that I feel, wake up anxious like I do, but I don't have to turn that into proof that something's wrong, like I have been for the first 30 something years of my life. And trust and believe when I tell you that this is a practice, because these thoughts and these feelings are going to pop up pretty regularly. And TMI, but like also human nature. For me, it's also where I am in my cycle where they will show up more. And also that intentional, I see you and I'm not choosing to subscribe to this anymore, feels like more of an effort on some days than others. The second intentional shift that I've been making is deciding who I am and showing up as her, even when I don't feel like it, which again, some days is harder than others, because there are days, and I'm sure you felt them too, where we feel completely behind, like super uncertain. And there are moments where I feel like I have no business telling anyone anything. And on those days, what's been so hard and what's been so intentional is reminding myself of who I actually am, regardless of those thoughts and feelings, and showing up as her anyway. And I want to be so intentional. This is not performing confidence, because I don't believe in that. I do believe you have to feel the feelings. And if you just shove them down, they're going to get louder until you pay attention to them. But this is reminding myself and making decisions and taking actions from the person who knows who she is, even while the other voice is still talking, even while you're feeling those negative thoughts and doubts and all of those things that will just make you crazy if you let them. And a major caveat that I want to talk about here, particularly to women and like woo woo women, is we can get caught up in that whole like you have to feel good to create good results. And it's this like clickbait social media stuff that we see and hear all the time across all of our feeds. And particularly for me in the past few months, it was really easy for me to fall into well, I'm not feeling great. Like I have a lot of things on my plate that are unideal. So even though I'm still doing the things, I was then deciding that I'm the person who doesn't feel good about it, who can still take the actions, but my automatic default and who I was a person that things weren't working out for. And therefore I would take the actions and wouldn't get the results that I wanted. And I just kind of reinforce like through that mental loop of like, see, because you weren't feeling good, that's why things are happening the way they're happening. And thankfully, one of my internet friends, Aubriana Kay, if anyone follows her, reminded me we were having a conversation because she had been there too. And she was like, what I had to remind myself in the depths of those moments were that my intention mattered more than my feelings. And in that intending and deciding and still showing up and doing the things that matter, regardless of the doubts or the fears that you feel in doing it, for me, it took the pressure off of it. And going back to deciding who you are, it helped me create this new internal narrative of it's totally fine to feel these doubts or feelings. That doesn't matter. And we still take the actions, which in theory is what I was doing. But now it's coming from this more deeper knowing of the thoughts and feelings really don't dictate the success and the results. Like I can feel whatever I'm feeling, but I know that I'm a smart, successful business person building her 7-figure business. And therefore, when I take that action, it's going to work. And based off of having conversations with a lot of my clients, I know a lot of you feel similarly because you can see it play out in different ways in different areas of your life and business. So for those of you who have a team, think about those days where you're having a bad day, but you still know that you're the leader. And so you still show up as the leader, regardless of how you're feeling, because this is just who you know you are. No matter what is happening inside, you're still the person who has to lead the team. You're still the person they're going to follow. How you're feeling doesn't all of a sudden make you not the leader. But then take those same feelings and doubts and look at another area of your business where you're not as confident in who you are. So whether it's how you show up online, how you make bigger business decisions or investments, whatever they may be. And when those same thoughts, feelings, fears, doubts, whatever creep into an area where you're not as locked in who you are, that's what can cause that freeze and that overwhelm and that overthinking and that panic that then can spiral into whatever belief you have about it. So I want you to pause and take note of who do you want to be in every single area of your business? And more specifically, who is that person? How do they show up? How do they act? The good, the bad, the ugly. Like this is not to say that like all of a sudden it's high vibe all the time and you're feeling good. It's just kind of like, well, what do they do even in those moments? The third shift that I've been making is hyper focusing on what's going right and really celebrating like all the small teeny little things, because this is almost contrarian to how high achievers operate. And I am thinking about a few specific clients as I talk about this because we've had this conversation, especially firstborn daughters. I've had this conversation with a few of my clients. We are wired to find the gap, fix a problem, close the loop. And that ability to pre-identify and get ahead of problems probably enabled you to create the business that you've created. So it is such a powerful skill set. But that same wiring that's still scanning for what's going wrong and how things aren't good enough when left unchecked means that we blow past every win at full speed and we only slow down and, in my case, circle the drain for the setbacks, the things that aren't going the way that we want them to go, or the things that could go better. So I've been deliberately slowing down for the wins and letting them actually land and not just noting them and moving on. Like it's really paying attention to and letting myself celebrate them. And really, it's the small, teeny wins that I've never even noticed before. So for me, when I'm creating content and I can feel like I'm shouting into the void, it's when I get a nice comment on it or I get an extra like that I normally do. Like it's such small things that I used to be like, this doesn't matter. I'm not getting the following, the community, the like sales from social media that I want. And I just didn't think twice about it. And now I'm like, that's one extra person who saw my thing and it resonated with them enough to like it. And that's a huge win that I need to celebrate because I'm going to be so hard on myself otherwise. And when we stop and we get really intentional and we focus on whatever those small wins are for you, the ones that you're normally neglecting, that's what really enables our brain and our reticular activating system, the RAS, to remind you and scan for and pay attention to how beautifully things actually are working out for us and how that success and the momentum is compounding. And then lastly, this fourth shift that I've been playing around with is this idea and this belief of it's already done. So years ago, this started as flipping the why is this happening? What's going on? Why does this always happen to me? To the like, what if this is actually working out for me? Many of you might have already started playing around with this. But lately, because for me, that left me searching for well, what does this mean? What is this doing for me? And then again, because my brain likes to focus on things, I was creating meaning that still kept it, whatever I was trying to do, whatever felt wrong, whatever felt off, like it kept it there, kept it front of mind because it was like, well, this still isn't working, but it's going to turn into something else. So as of late, that's morphed into being even more intentional and really deciding that things are already working out or that things have already worked out. It's not even the like it's happening because again, that still kind of kept me in the like, it hasn't happened or it's not happening. Therefore, right now in this moment to like, it's already done and dusted. Like can write home about it, can add it to my celebration list. So again, the content that I'm sharing online, because you'll see that this is something that like feels like a thorn in my side and a relationship that I'm working on. So what I'm sharing online, it's already reaching incredible business owners who are looking for a marketing agency and team just like mine. And specifically, love me, want to connect with me. The proposals that I've sent out to clients that I'm waiting to hear back on, they just can't wait to sign and get started. The new revenue and visibility goals that I'm creating for myself, well, the money's already in the bank. I already have that engaged community and I'm connecting with people in a way that feels so meaningful and so deep and so intentional. And here's the thing that I really want to call out is that oftentimes, it's not actually working out the way that you decided that it is. And so, for example, if you look at my social following right now, on no channel do I have more than 2,000 followers. And on YouTube, I'm so proud of the fact that I finally have 31 subscribers. But like, that is by no means a large, warm, engaged community and what I'm working towards. But in culminating everything that we've been talking about and all those shifts, it's okay that it's not working out in the way that I can see it and I want it to be right now. And it is okay that my brain is telling me, hey, Katie, it's not working out, so it's not going to. And it means XYZ about you. Whatever it is, fill in the blank. But I've also promised myself and decided that I am the 7-figure business owner who works with incredible clients and delivers work that they are so proud of that actually moves their business forward and connects them with their perfect clients or their products to their perfect customers. And it's just creating this bigger, larger, more beautiful impact in the world. So even though I can't see how that's playing out, all that's left to do from knowing that that's who I am is just keep going, not let the story stop me. So let me walk you through a really cool example of how this has been coming to fruition, like literally just as of last week, as I've been more intentional about playing around with this, because I know how airy-fairy this can sound. But so I have a client where we wrapped up the first portion of our program together, and I wasn't sure if he'd want to continue. And as per usual, my brain was catastrophizing what he was thinking about and how I just decided for whatever reason it would be a no. We don't want to continue. And then to make matters worse, because our brains are the products of the beliefs that we grew up with, when I was telling my mom about the situation, she echoed the same concerns that I had and kind of reiterated, it'll probably be a no. So not fun at all. Created a lot of not great feelings, thoughts, all of that stuff. But kind of working through it and showing you guys how I worked through it, I figured if it's a no, like that's the worst case scenario. So what if I started playing around with the opposite potential? What if it was actually just a yes and he's just really busy and hasn't had a chance to answer me yet? And he went radio silent for about a week. And depending on where you are, I want you to fill in whatever feels big to you. And even me right now, I'm judging myself on the fact that like, depending on where I am in the business, sometimes clients going MIA feels fine. And sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, like the tires are falling off the train or whatever the metaphor is. But so he went radio silent for a week and the thoughts kept popping up in my mind of like, but what if it is a no? Like, it seems like it's a no. He hasn't answered yet. But I kept coming back to okay, well, no matter what happens, like, I'm okay. Like, if you look around in this moment, I'm okay. If he says no, I'm going to be okay. It's all truly fine now and it will continue to be fine. So kept kind of just calming myself down. And then all of a sudden, randomly a week later, he comes back with a great, when can we get started? And I was like, cool, love it. And so then here's where it gets even more interesting. So get started. I go into his office to do some work and it was a really busy day. And he's my one client who always pays me in cash. So day goes longer than we expected. I had to run out and he was busy and I just didn't get the cash, which never happens. He pays me, it's fine. And then I run to the bank, deposit it. It's my little routine. And so I was just kind of annoyed with myself and I started ruminating on I don't want to chase clients down. Like, I don't do that, but like, I'm going to have to do that here. And then I'm going to have to find a time that works for me to go back, even though it's outside of our schedule. And then I'm also going to have to find time to go to the bank and deposit it, which always takes longer than I want. And which is why I don't take cash from most clients. And then I was also doing the mental math of like, well, how much work should I do before he starts paying me? Because like, what if something happens and I never get paid and I have to like pause this? And me and the team, we've put so much in. So like, you can see the spiral, like just not fun, kind of miserable. And so then I was talking to someone about it and she reminded me that, well, it's really easy. You've kind of decided that all of these not fun, terrible things are happening and they're going wrong and that is what it is. But what if that wasn't the case? What if you decided something else? And she said it and I was like, it's crazy. You're delusional. And I was like, fine, I'll try it. And again, I felt crazy and delusional and I still feel crazy and delusional all the time. And so I was like, okay, like what if he sells me? Or then it turned into, okay, he's going to sell me, which again is laughable because he's only ever paid me in cash. And I was on a call when this happened. So I know that it was at about 3:30 p.m. And then after the call, I wrapped up a few things. I went to Trader Joe's. And when I got back in the car at 6 that night, I realized he had texted me an hour early. So 5 o'clock. So between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, he said, hey, can you send me a Zelle request? What? Literally floored. I sent a screenshot to the friend who reminded me that it was cool. I could assume that he would sell me. And my mind was blown. And also, again, even though it has nothing to do with a business win or anything like that, it was a moment to celebrate. Oh, this actually worked out easier than I thought it was. I didn't have to do any of the chasing that I assumed I would have to do. So now, fast forward to the next day, payment hasn't come through, and I could feel myself starting to fall back into the old story and the old spiral of, well, he could be slow to pay. I'll probably have to remind him. I don't want to be the person to have to chase down my clients for payments. I'm so past that. And in that moment, I caught it and I was like, nope, it's already paid. Which again, delusional. Everything that I've ever dealt with him gave me reason to believe that I was going to have to chase this down and put in a lot of work to get this money. So I felt crazy and I felt like I was completely faking it, but decided that it was done. It was already paid for. And then I took it a step further and I was like, okay, so if it was done and already paid for, what would I be thinking about? What would I be doing right now? And I was like, I would just wrap up my work and I would go take Finley on a walk. Finley's my dog, but I think you all know that at this point. And then on the walk, because again, going back to the content creator, the social media thing, the community that I do want to build and I'm working on building. Right. No, I should say like I've built, but like what feels true right now is I'm working on building is I again started to play around with the like, okay, so the person who has that really engaged community, who's creating the content that lights her up, even when it feels scary, what would she be talking about? What would she be doing? And I was just brain dumping into my notes app all the things that I wanted to talk about and create that was feeling really good and feeling really aligned and not just feeling like the stuff that I should be talking about, which is normally how I go. And now for the record, I get pop-up notifications on my phone for all of my business emails. And so I always see the emails coming through. And then also, even if I don't see them come through, like when I'm just scrolling end of the day or like pull things like that, that action you pull down on your phone to see all your notifications, I normally see what came through and just didn't notice anything. So the next morning I wake up and I log on. And what I realized was not only had he completed the Zelle request, but he did it while I was on my walk. And I just didn't even know. And that's not even the part that like blows my mind. Like it's so cool to see how magically things are working out. But what really gets me and stops me in my track, and the part that feels most good about this is that after like the years of being the most anxious person you'll ever meet, it's that I've been learning and cultivating how to feel okay before the external thing that always validated whether or not it was okay showed. Because again, being that overachiever who's always on to the next, even when that thing came in, didn't matter. I was on to the next, or all of a sudden it became not enough. And now it's that creating safety in what's actually here. And again, that present moment of like, it's all okay. I'm actually okay. So that was all last week. And then literally yesterday, if you guys are listening to this on the day that this came out, if I take it a step further, I woke up with the standard anxiety and nervousness and worry that I've been having about some things in the business. So I've been hiring. I'm trying to make sure I have the right people in place that I like really trust and will really do right by my clients. I owed my accountant my P&L, and the numbers in the spreadsheet were not matching the ones that I have written on Post-it notes all over the house. And I was falling into the same old thought patterns of, it's not working. Like, this is cute that you're thinking and feeling this way. It's cute that you have moments that just feel calm and easy breezy, but it doesn't matter because look at what's going on and look at like how it feels. So again, I was getting caught up in the like these super sucky, uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. So I allowed myself to feel it for a while. Like, I couldn't shake it despite the like meditating and listening to music and dancing it out. But then kind of treated myself like the big sister that I needed. And I kept reminding myself that just because I was having those thoughts and feelings, they didn't actually mean anything. And they weren't indicative of what was going to happen or what is happening. And it didn't mean that, well, you're never going to achieve the numbers on your Post-it notes and you're going to make the wrong team hires or whatever the case may be. In fact, I actually feel really good about the people that I'm bringing on. And for clients listening or for future clients, I cannot wait for you to work with them because I genuinely think you're going to love them. And I know we're going to create incredible work for you guys. But anyway, so last week when I was feeling all high vibe and thinking about this client situation, I recorded a TikTok and I had it ready to go in my drafts with the intention of posting it today. But then this morning I woke up and I was like, I'm not feeling that way. And again, going back to the whole like, oh, well, if you post it or you do the thing, but you're not feeling great, it means this and you're not going to create the thing. I said, no, frick that. If I'm going to be intentional and I'm going to keep working on these things and keep practicing these new ways of being and things that feel like they take care of myself better, then it means that I have to accept that I'm having these uncomfortable thoughts. I don't have to make them mean anything. And that I get to decide that A, it doesn't mean anything. And also I get to decide who I am and how she is and how she acts. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, if nothing was going wrong and if this didn't mean anything, what would I do? And it was simple. It was, you just keep showing up. You just keep doing the things, which means just you post the content that I created when I was lit up, even if I'm not feeling lit up right now. So I posted it and I threw my phone out of sight and I just prayed that maybe one person will see it and it will make them feel a little bit better. So like an hour later, I finally picked back up my phone and there was a new comment and a follow from a complete stranger. And she was so sweet. And she said that it really resonated with her. And so kind of went back and forth for a little bit. And then she shared this really sweet comment. I'm going to read it verbatim because it was just such a good reminder. So she said, you said something about how even if it's a few likes, it's reaching the right people. And I need you to know that I felt 100% of the feelings you talked about so clearly that I feel like I was meant to hear it and I really appreciate it. So thank you. And I will say again, me creating the story, me creating the mental loops, I went and looked at this woman's profile. She has like 15,000 followers. And I was just like, she's having the same exact fears and doubts and like stories that she's telling about herself, even though me with like 1,700 followers was like, she's obviously crushing it, like creating a whole story about how she's feeling and what it means for her business and her confidence and all that stuff. But all that to say, we're feeling the exact same way in our own experiences. And that was just such a good reminder of like, if nothing else came from that post, that was so meaningful to both of us. And we started following each other and like, I really love her content. And like, she just seems like such a cool person. I'm so grateful for that interaction. And while this might feel like now I end the episode with it and she lived happily ever after and everything went perfect, obviously that's not the case. Like, let me be so transparent in all of this because hopefully I've been clear and you guys get it. This is very much still a work in progress. And even to sit down and record this episode, like I was like on procrastination station of just took me hours to get to it because it was so scary to do and still had to like coach myself and big sister myself through all of this. So hopefully this episode gives you something. If it resonates at all, feel free to share on social media, like in email, because I feel like I'm sitting here naked, but I don't know. This is what I want to be intentional about moving forward. I promise to continue to talk about the marketing pieces and give you tangible tips and practices and all of that stuff. But also, hopefully, if it still feels right to me and as it keeps feeling right, I'm going to share this and hopefully it helps. So I'll talk to you guys next time.